So it being on or about 6:30, I bring this meeting of the Easton Conservation Commission, April 24th, 2023 to order. Please note, in keeping with an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency as amended by Governor Healy on March 23rd, 2023, extending remote meetings through March 31st, 2025. This meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by board commission members shall be remote, and remote attendance shall count towards quorum. This meeting may be broadcast live and will be recorded by ECAT. So you're being recorded audio and video. In order to establish a quorum, if we can just do a roll call.
Benson present.
Carroll present.
Rossman present.
Caulfield's present. Seeing that we have 4 members present, we have a quorum. We are going to proceed. First up, we have an Eagle Scout candidate discussion from Max Montero.
Hi, how's it going today?
Good, how are you?
So I just wanted to come here and talk about the plan for my Eagle Scout project. So the plan was at the back of the public gardens from the entrance, the back left corner, to build a greenhouse that would be about 10 by 12. So far I have about $400 fundraised. I did the math, I'll be around $1,680 for the project if we went to Lowe's, but I'm sure I'll get some donations from local businesses. So we're setting up a car wash at the Bank of Easton for more fundraising. So the general plan is I have a contractor set up to build trusses there, and then I will take a couple pickup trucks and load them there, and then I'll construct there. So I'll build the trench, and everything will be on my hands for building wise.
So this is intended over at the community gardens at Wheaton Farm?
Yes.
Okay.
And Max, did you want to just let them know you met with the Agricultural Commission?
Yes, I did meet the Agricultural Commission, and they did approve the project.
Awesome.
So did the council representative from Mayflower Council.
So Max is here because it's on conservation property, and you should all know what the proposal is and give your approval as well.
So Max, once the structure is built, who's responsible for it at that point?
Once the structure is built, it would fall on the Agricultural Committee and the Conservation Committee to keep and maintain it. But all the materials will be supplied by me for building process. But afterward, the maintaining would fall on to the Agricultural Committee.
Jennifer, who or Max or anybody, who's the intended users of the greenhouse, and when do they think start using it? Is it early season stuff, or what's the intention for you?
The goal is anyone. It's up to the Agriculture Committee. I'm just there to build it and supply it. It's really up to anyone to use and what you want to do with it. It should be a 4 season.
So it'll be within the gate of the community garden. So mostly the gardeners there will be using it.
Max, thank you for taking the initiative on this. Do you have like a set of plans that you're using to put this together?
Yes, I do have a set of pre-plans. I have that with me. It's about 10 by 12. All the materials are listed. I have the dimensions and everything I need for it.
If it'd be possible, I mean, I think this is a great project and a great idea, but I'd love to see a set of the plans at some point. If it'd be possible for you to get them over to Jennifer.
I can gladly send an email with all the information.
Right, they're in your Eagle Scout handbook, and you're going to make that copy for me.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Any other questions from the committee members? He's got me saying committee now.
Sounds good to me.
Jenna, yeah, I think no resource area issues.
No.
Yeah, that's all.
Any public input on the Eagle Scout project? Seeing none, Max, once again, is Vice Chair Carroll said, thank you for this project and thank you for bringing it forward. We're looking forward to your efforts on this and seeing the final result. So, in keeping with that, let's get a motion on the board here to support Max's Eagle Scout project.
second,
We'll take mine as a motion, I guess. Caulfield's Benson second. Roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Caulfield's aye. Thank you, Max. Good luck with the project.
Thank you for the opportunity. Have a great night.
Thank you, you too.
So next up is 20 Central Street. This is the notice of intent for demolition of a 470 square foot building. Jennifer, we have a butters notification.
Yes.
Mr. Loomis, you want to introduce yourself for the record?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Al Loomis from McKinsey Engineering here on behalf of Demetrius Spartakostas. I believe Chris Spartakostas may be joining us. I'm not sure. I don't see him on here yet. But should I proceed with a description of the project, if you'd like?
Yeah, I'm promoting Chris right now, so
Oh, okay.
I don't know which one of you wants to speak on behalf of the project. So
I'll start. Chris can chime in if he would like.
do you have plans or anything to bring up, share?
Yes, I could share if you'd like.
That'd be great.
So I assume you can all see the screen now. I hope.
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
So this is 20 Central Street. It's a factory that's been there for, I don't know the exact history, but I'm guessing 100 plus years. It has a main building and several outbuildings, some in the back, one right here. The building in question is this small building right here. It's in a advanced state of disrepair. The roof has started caving on it. So for the immediate future, Mr. Vardakostas would like to take this building down and remove it from the site. So that would just involve probably an excavator with a thumb that would demolish the building, load it into dumpsters to be hauled off site and disposed of properly at a proper landfill facility. There are, I believe Jennifer took some pictures. There's several 55-gallon drums along here. Chris Vardakostas had someone investigate that. I don't know exactly who, but had someone investigate that. The drums are empty, so there's no pollutants within the drums, so they would be hauled away as well. So you can see this red line here that represents 200-foot riverfront to Queesit Brook, inland to the inland bank of Queesit Brook. Additionally, there is a canal that parallels the building along through here. Doug, I'm not sure for what purposes way back when, whether for power or whatever. I don't know the exact use of that. So there are obviously some local riverfront jurisdictions involved with that. So this line represents 200 feet from that canal. So the building sits just outside the 100-foot buffer, the 100-foot zone to the canal riverfront. And we're on the outer limit of the 100-foot, 100 to 200-foot with respect to the Queesit Brook. So it is jurisdictional. We're proposing a limit of work as shown here. In terms of erosion control, we have a very convenient spot here to connect these two buildings with a compost filter sock that would block any possible erosion from making its way to this catch basin. And it, frankly, I think the entire project will probably take 1 to 2 days to demolish the building and load it and haul it away. And then it would be simply a matter of regrading the excavation, whatever. I assume that there wouldn't be much of an excavation left in place, but that would just be graded with some gravel and would match the surrounding grades. So it's a relatively small amount of work in a short time period, I anticipate, to get rid of the building. And I'd be happy to answer any questions the commission might have.
Jennifer, you want to give us an overview?
Sure, I have a few things, but Al, first, do you want to explain where the floodplain and what the floodway is?
Sure. So this red hatched, I tried to match what's shown on the typical FEMA flood map, so that's why this kind of gaudy hatching is along here. But that represents the floodway, I mean the regulatory floodway as shown and taken from FEMA. And these lines are actually developed from, we downloaded several of these lines. If they're not field located, we develop them from importing them from Mass Mapper now, Mass GIS. So those are directly input. We're on the Mass coordinate system with our survey, so they kind of drop right onto our drawing. So that's the extent of the floodway. And then we have the canal intermittent stream here. We have zone AE flood elevation of 100. Again, that's based partially on topography, but also taken from Mass Mapper. So that's the limit of that, the zone AE. Let's see, I guess that's it in terms of that.
Okay. The project is not exempt from stormwater management, so we do still need the checklist. Most of it you're gonna put NA, but we do still need it.
Okay.
Was that a comment that you got from DEP too, or no? Might not be.
I don't recall what it said. I did get the email. I can look that
Okay.
up. But
Okay, and you made some changes to the operation and maintenance plan?
yes, I did.
Okay,
I need to get that to you as well. So those are relatively minor edits. We can
Okay.
make them at your suggestion, I'll certainly.
okay, and it's in under stormwater management in the checklist, we talked about, or mentioned illicit discharge. I know you provided a statement, but it's not really in accordance with the handbook. So that was on the staff report to address that, please.
Yes, and I saw that. So we're somewhat limited as to what we can investigate on the site. The building isn't accessible right now. So in terms of doing a complete illicit discharge statement, it's somewhat difficult for us at this point in terms of assessing every pipe coming from every location. There are some obvious ones. For instance, the catch basin here, that should be easily traceable. But I suspect there are probably going to be some, I don't know, floor drains or whatever inside the building that we would need to investigate as part of that. And it's really kind of outside of our realm in terms of, I mean, normally we would do this in conjunction with drainage and how we anticipate our say we were proposing a stormwater basin or something of that nature, we would be able to ascertain and ensure that none of the activity we're proposing is going to impact that. We have a kind of a twofold problem here, if you will, in that, again, the building is inaccessible to us right now to be able to fully investigate every pipe, every downspout, and I'm not sure in an old building like this if we're going to have answers for everything. I mean, I guess.
A little bit of a quandary if you're not exempt from stormwater management and, you know, there are pictures with stuff coming out of the pipe directly into the wetland, so you can understand why we're asking the question.
Oh, I understand the concern, yes, by
Yep.
all means.
Especially the one that has septic on it with a big arrow.
Yeah, that's a little,
Discharging directly into the river.
that's a little concerning to understate it, certainly. I would suggest to you that with respect to this particular project, nothing we're proposing is impacting that one way or the other. We're not causing an additional problem, and we're not, if anything, we anticipate that this will help perhaps alleviate a problem by getting rid of some broken down building that may in some way be contributing to debris or whatever getting off site. So the other thing I would suggest is that based on your local regulations and DEP regulations, pretty much the entire site, almost the entire site is jurisdictional. So any future activity will certainly come under the scrutiny of the commission. So I guess what I'm suggesting is to immediately address this problem. We could do so perhaps without that intense investigation that would be required to fully vet the site, fully understand the site, what's going where. We're just trying to get rid of an immediate problem right now. The building is, you took pictures of that as well, I believe. It's half fallen down already, and it's, I would suggest, a danger and a hazard, and we'd like to address that as soon as we could, if possible.
So Al, can you address the other wetland violation of all the vegetation and trees that were cut all along the riverfront area, within the canal, within the wetland area, and in the upland space between the brook and the canal?
Yeah, there was. Place.
It was a year ago.
It looks.
They received a letter, but I got no reply.
So, I believe you said that letter was in June? Wasn't it June of 22 that you sent that?
I know it was a year ago, at
Yeah.
least.
So, was it addressed to Mr. Vardacostas though?
Yes.
Oh, it was, okay. Well, the only reason I ask is because the sale was in that time period. So I didn't know if something got lost in the process, if you had sent that to the original owner's Crowfoot, or if it went to Mr. Vardacostas. So
No, would have gone to the original owner first,
Okay.
and then would have received the information from the assessor's office and sent the letter
yeah, so I
to
can't
the
speak,
current owner. So
I can't speak to that. I do
Mhm.
know that I advised when Chris Vardacostas made me aware that he had been cutting some trees. I guess they had some roofing done on one of the buildings that was in dire need of some roofing. To be able to do that, they cut some trees, and when he told me that, I advised him that he should not cut any more trees. So
So the trees in the river are nowhere near the building, and the materials from the roof were just dumped on the side of the building. They
Yeah.
weren't even removed from the site, so I'm not sure how the trees have anything to do with the roofing.
I can't speak to that.
Yeah,
I don't know why those were cut there. That's, I'm just relating what Chris related to me, that in order to be able to work around the building, they cut some trees down that I guess were overhanging the building at the time, so.
Okay, so you can see where that's a wetland violation as well.
Sure, yep.
So those couple items still need to be addressed.
Okay. How do you want to proceed with that? Would you like it just to be cleaned up? Do you want us to file something, or I can?
Well, why don't we move on to the commission's questions and
Sure.
see, you know, what they might have for
Okay.
that, and we can come up with a plan toward the
All
end.
right.
So, from my perspective, what's the method of access to this building and the dumpster and everything else?
So there's a narrow driveway that comes in off of Central Street, right through here. So I show a dumpster location here, between the building to be torn down and the existing building. So the excavator would set up in here. They would leave a dumpster. Typically, when they demolish a building, I'm sure you've all seen it, but they basically take an excavator and crunch the building down and get it into small pieces so it fits into the dumpster easier, more compactly. So they would stage a dumpster here and load from an excavator into the dumpster, and then it would be hauled away, and probably, I'm anticipating this might take two dumpsters. So they would haul one away and probably leave an empty one at the same time, and then fill that and haul it away. So it could all take place in a very relatively small area. I would guess that a truck would pull in and then back into here and leave the dumpster, and then do a similar routine to make the exchange of the dumpsters. So it could all be a pretty confined amount of work with that, with respect to this raising of the building.
So did you indicated that Mr. Vardakostas was a relatively new owner of this property, about a year?
Yes.
So from that perspective, what are the plans for Mr. Vardakostas for this particular piece of property?
I don't know that they have fully appraised what they're going to do with it. They, in speaking with Chris, they mentioned maybe some kind of storage facility, like a self-storage facility, something along those lines. But the buildings need some fairly substantial work, so that's probably down the line a little bit.
I'll just mention that it's a historic building, so you do need to meet with the historical commission on that.
Yeah, I'll advise Chris of that.
So, Jennifer, as a point of information, this particular raising of this building has already been approved by Historical Commission, is that correct?
I don't think the garage is part of that. The large building is part of historical.
Okay.
If I could, the building is, as I say, in an advanced state of disrepair. I don't know if you have pictures you can share, Jennifer, but the middle of the building, it looks like a saddle almost. The middle of the roof line has collapsed at this point, so that it's or half collapsed. So there's really no value to the building at this point, I don't think.
Yep. I do have those pictures if anybody wants to see them. So it's in our packet, so you should have them already. Any other questions from the commission?
What is the foundation of this building? Is this slab? Is there a dug foundation with concrete? I mean, how old is this?
It's a slab, to my knowledge, it's a garage, so, it would be a slab, so it shouldn't be deep in the ground. I'm not sure in the process of raising it if they would try to excavate any foundation walls or if they would just leave them in place.
Block, isn't it?
I'm sorry,
Isn't it block?
the building itself is block, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
So it was the plan, as it was presented, I thought, is the plan to essentially tear the slab out and grade it with gravel, or is the plan to leave the slab as it sits?
I guess it depends on where it ends up, the condition of the slab, where it is in relation to the elevation of the ground. You don't want to leave basically a lump in the middle of that gravel parking area there.
Yeah.
So, but I guess I anticipated that they would tear the slab out and just grade it with gravel and make it like the surrounding parking area.
Anything else, Ben?
Nothing else from me right now.
Nate or Al? So here's the conundrum that we have as a commission, right? Is that the project in and of itself is fairly straightforward, other than the paperwork issues and the stormwater illicit discharge stuff that Jennifer's talking about. Although we could talk about the illicit discharge part about it, but I think stormwater, the O&M plan. If we talk just about that particular project, but we look at this site as a whole, and there's been substantial degradation of the wetland resources on this property, and unknowingly intentional, if that makes any sense. I mean, it's sort of the people don't understand that they think that they're cleaning something up or making access to a building or whatnot, not understanding the negative impacts that it has on the wetland resources. Plus the debris on a site like this, which an old industrial site, maybe that's to be expected to some degree, but some of that's recent. So those are challenges. So how do you propose that we as a commission not look at that, which is what I think you're asking us to do? You're asking us to sort of separate those violations from this request to raise this building. And that's a challenge, right? I mean, that's a real piece. We have this stuff staring at us in the face that is an obvious violation that a year ago we tried to get the attention of the owner of the property. It was ignored, but whether Mr. Bartakostas saw the document or whatever, I can't say, but I can tell you that Jennifer sent the violation notice. And so how do you propose that we as a commission members reconcile that?
I certainly understand the position of the commission. So we could propose cleanup of the material, certainly the debris, the roofing materials or whatever else is around the building, especially around the back here. I think that's maybe where you saw all that debris, Jennifer. I'm not sure, but we could propose that cleanup. I don't know how you as the commission would like to proceed with that. Should that be part of this filing? Should we make a separate filing?
So here's the conundrum that we have as commission members, is that if we make it part of this filing or any other filing, that makes it leaves it up to the landowner to do the project. And unless we go straight to enforcement, we lose some of the control over the time frame and the definitiveness of actually getting the project done.
Mhm.
Right? Because a permit is actually that. It's a permit to do work. It's not a mandate to do it.
Right.
So, so we have a little bit of a conundrum here because we have all this work that needs to get done in addition to this building that needs to get removed, which is what the applicant wants. But then we have a bit of a problem because the site has been substantially degraded from a wetland resource standpoint. So any proposals from the commission on how we might approach this? Do we approve do we move forward with approving with the changes that are necessary? Jennifer, I'm not at all ignoring that part about it. Approving the removal of the building and go to an enforcement on the other side? Do we start, do we say the enforcement, they have to have, restoration plans and cleanup plans in place within 90 days, or we start issuing fines? What do we do to ensure that this sort of happens? So I'm open to suggestions. I think I've laid out what the problem is for us.
Yes, yeah. I personally, I think, the notice of intent, the demolition of that building is probably a net improvement on the site. I think we almost probably have to separate the two for that exact reason. But it sounds like we need some additional information from the applicant, and I would be open to either proposal, I think, personally, from the applicant with some assurance that some cleanup and work will be done relative to what's been done in that buffer zone.
Seems like enforcement would be proper because, it seems as though we already asked in the notice from a year ago was ignored. So I don't think doesn't seem like there's any guarantee that anything is going to get done unless we go the next step.
I think I would agree with that as well. I think the two should be issued. I'm slightly concerned about the building condition in that any children that could play in it, there could be, injury, from a dilapidated building. So I would be in favor of getting rid of that, but I would also be in favor of the enforcement since they don't seem to be interested in doing it alternatively.
I will give the applicant a little bit of benefit of the doubt to say that perhaps this notice was misplaced somewhere and got buried in a bunch of other paperwork, but we have their attention now. So I think we have to sort of say, okay, we have their attention. So let's use that to our advantage.
Yeah.
I think that probably the way to approach this is perhaps we allow them to clean up the debris as part of this permit, because they'll already be out there with dumpsters and equipment. Do we need additional sedimentation control here, Jennifer, if we allow that? Sorry, Ben?
Oh, no, I was just saying out loud for cleanup.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
It's possible that they wouldn't. There is some vegetation in that area behind the building and between like the wetland A series. There is some existing vegetation. It probably would be a whole lot easier to do being on site. And, Al, you may want time to discuss this with your client first. And maybe it's worth doing a site inspection with the three of us to try to.
I think that would be a fantastic idea to really get a handle on it, because I was going to ask the question procedurally. We don't want to go in there and make a bigger mess cleaning it up by running equipment back and forth and all that. So I think a site visit would be extremely valuable.
Okay.
So,
we have some information that we're waiting for in the meantime, so it would make sense to continue and do the site inspection and pull the rest of the information together if that works for you and your client.
It
So
does.
I think just as a little bit of a straw poll here, I just want to make sure we agree so we can give Jennifer the proper guidance so that when she's out on a site visit with them, that she's getting the information she needs in order to get this to a decision, right? And so, so I think that we're suggesting that let's try and get the debris off the site the best we possibly can. There may be parts of it that may have to be included in a restoration portion of this. But if the debris can get removed expeditiously and without further damaging the resource area, I think we should probably try and get that done. And so I think our idea would be to include that in this permitting process, give them permission to do that. And, you know, Jennifer can decide what kind of sedimentation control might be necessary. And then we can wrap this permit up as one, and then we can start talking about getting the other violation addressed. I mean, that's the way I think we approach this. Jennifer, does that direction seem to be okay for you?
Yep, I think that makes sense.
Anybody else? We're good. We got a thumbs up, a nod.
Yep.
We've got two nods and two nods and two thumbs up. So. Okay, so I think that's the way we go. We'll continue at this until May 8th.
8th.
Okay. Just saying, before I do that, any public comment for 20 Central Street? You need to raise your hand or put something in the chat or anything along those lines. Okay, so seeing none, let's continue this to May 8th. And in the meantime, I think Mr. Loomis has some stormwater checklists and an updated O&M plan, and then we got to get some sort of agreement on an illicit discharge statement of some sort. And then we'll do a site visit with Jennifer along with Mr. Varkostis and see if we can't figure out in the field what can and can't be done. Okay?
Thank you very much, Jennifer. I'll get in touch with
So,
you tomorrow.
that was a motion. Let's
Sorry.
motion to continue to May 8th.
Carol, second.
Carl, second. Roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Fell's aye. Okay. Mr. Loomis, you can arrange with Jennifer on setting something up. Okay?
Very good. We will.
Thank you all.
Thanks for your time.
Oh, and the next item, 520 Foundry Street, Neil Levine, applicant is Collins Civil Engineering. Request for determination of applicability to install a commercial sewer line.
Good evening.
Hi.
I believe, if you possible, if you could let, Neil Levine into the meeting, is he,
Yeah, he's here. I'll get him up here.
okay, great, thank you.
Oh, somebody already grabbed it. Thank you. I'm here.
Then, Jennifer, unless you want to post the plan, I can share my screen with the,
It would be great if you could.
Please.
Sure, Jen.
share.
Oh, sorry, Ben.
Oh, where is it?
Ben is running this hearing for us, so.
Allegedly.
Sorry, I'm trying to. Oh, here it is. Share. All right. Yeah, so for the record, George Collins, registered professional engineer from Collins Civil Engineering Group, representing Neil Levine of 520 Foundry Street LLC. My firm did a septic upgrade design for this property in 2008. And we filed for a notice of intent, and an order of conditions and permit for work were issued. And then the order of conditions was now recorded to the chain of title. And this is a little bit of a background on this project. And then subsequently, Mr. Levine and his partners purchased the property in 2014 because the order, conditions, and permit for work were never recorded into the chain of title. They knew nothing about this. I have done work for Mr. Levine in the past, and then he reached out to me recently because they're having problems with the septic system, the system's in failure, sewer, municipal sewer came down Foundry Street. And so what's proposed what's before you at this particular moment is a request for determination of applicability for the sewer connection. And then also, we're also requesting a certificate of compliance for the 2008 order of conditions and permit for work. There is definitely there's some outstanding items that need to be taken care of to bring, to fulfill the 2008 order of conditions and permit for work. But at this point, if you don't mind, I'm gonna just go over this project at
Please.
the RDA that's before you this evening. I'm actually gonna zoom in a little bit more. So basically, there's a stream over here. And geez, is this the current? Hopefully, oh yeah, here it is. There's a stream here. There's a flood zone A right here without an assigned elevation. There's a bordering vegetated wetland shown in green along here. This right here is a stormwater management basin. The 50-foot buffer zone is shown in orange. The 100-foot buffer zone is shown in magenta. And then this is the 100-foot 100-foot inner riparian zone resource limit. And then this is the 200-foot outer riparian zone resource limit. So now that I've gone through that, I'm going to just zoom in a little bit more. So basically what we're doing is, I do have erosion control proposed downhill right here, downhill of the proposed work. So what we're doing is we're converting the 4,000 gallon concrete pump chamber into a, 4,000 gallon septic tank into a pump chamber. And then also we are going to keep the, and then basically what we're doing, this red line here is a 2-inch force main that's going to pump up the hill to a proposed sewer manhole that will gravity feed into the municipal sewer out in the street. So that's basically this. Again, we do have to discuss the request for certificate of compliance, but basically that's the gist of the request for determination of applicability at this point.
What's the plan with the asphalt where this pipe's going?
So there's just a very small strip right here where we're gonna saw cut like a 3-foot wide. It's like a 3-foot wide saw cut. And then once it gets up in here, that's actually crushed stone and earth. So there's only a very small portion right here that's going to be saw cut and paved, and we're anticipating getting all this work done in a couple of days. So I don't think so it's not something that's going to be exposed for long periods of time.
Mm-hmm. Is there a plan at all to decommission the old leaching field, or does that just
No,
in place?
that just gets left abandoned in place. And then actually what we are doing is we're keeping so the original design. This is a grease trap. Will stay online. This is the 4,000 gallon septic tank, which will function as a pump chamber. And then we're also going to have, we're going to keep there's a 2,000 gallon secondary settling tank. We're going to use that as an emergency overflow if there's a delay in pumping, or like if we have a pump failure and this, or something like that. So we'll have a total of 6,000 gallons of capacity in the tanks. Basically what happens, I'm not sure how much you know about the septic system, the way the pumps work, but basically the pump, like a 4,000 gallon tank, that would kick on when it has about maybe 500 or 600 gallons of liquid in it, and then pump down. So if there is a pump failure, you have emergency storage capacity. So that there's an alarm that'll go off. So basically, so we figure the tankage is there. We might as well take advantage of it and keep that tankage in place. Specifically that extra 2,000 gallon tank.
Jennifer, any comments on this aspect?
Just a couple things. So all along most of the wetland boundary, there are piles of compost and trash that are partially in the wetland and some at the edge of the wetland that all do need to be cleaned up. And a broken pipe that's discharging from the building into the wetland, sort of near WFA 11 and 10.
Yeah, down right around it. Yeah.
Yeah. So a
Yeah.
couple items to address.
Yeah, and that's from the downspouts from the roof runoff. So it's not some mystery pipe. So just so the commission knows. So it's relatively clean roof runoff. And I did, again I apologize to Jen already. How I basically my plan was to submit the request for certificate of compliance and the request for determination of applicability at the same time. My 77-year-old, really good general manager, she got everything submitted for the request for certificate of compliance before I even knew it had happened. So she sent in just a very generic letter saying that everything was in compliance. So, but I meant to add some language to that. And because of the circumstances where Mr. Levine and his partners were not aware of any of this, we basically wanted to start the conversation and figure out what we need to do to close out the old project. And then the only other thing to keep into consideration is, the system is in failure, so that we know that we have to take care of some housekeeping items associated with the previous application, but we would like to move forward with this portion of the with the sewer connection as quickly as possible. And if at some point, whether it's now or later in the agenda, I do have my proposed corrective actions that I sent to Jen. Whether that's something that you want us to hammer out between Jen and myself, or that's something I'm more than happy to go over with the commission when you deem appropriate.
Roy, would you mind do you have thoughts on, my inclination is to deal with both now. As opposed to having everybody circle back later on in the agenda, even though we posted it as two.
I think that you could make the decision to move that one forward so we can deal with.
Yeah. So I think we probably deal with both of them right now.
Okay, if you want, I don't know if, I think I have to, I wanted to bring up my letter that, see, where are we here?
So, Mr. Chair, can I just have a point of information?
Absolutely.
So, Jennifer, can you just clarify what, we actually have to deal with the certificate of compliance before we issue this permit, or can we have two permits open at the same time?
DEP has a policy where you don't have two permits open at the same time. It does happen.
It's a policy.
It's a policy.
But, ultimately, Mr. Levine is, obviously was not very happy to find out that he had all these outstanding obligations and he's, you may or may not know, but he also owns McGuire's Bar and Grill. And, you know, this is the La Familia restaurant, also the strip mall at McGuire's and pieces of property across the street from it. So he's a local businessman, and he really is wants to try to resolve everything, aggressively stay on top of this. And so again, he didn't know anything about any of this until about a month ago. So
George, can I jump in?
sure.
You guys hear me? Yeah. This is Neil Levine. I own McGuire's, for those that don't know. My partners own the plaza across the street. I just want to let you know our intentions. We purchased this property in 2014 at a foreclosure auction. We weren't aware of the order of conditions that were in place. And when the septic system started to have issues, and we wanted to connect the sewer, as Mr. Collins noted, we were made aware of this order of conditions. Myself, my partners, everybody involved, we're all local businessmen. We have a long-term history in the town. We are committed to satisfying the needs or the requirements that go along with that order of conditions, or any other recommendations that the commission would offer. We do ask that, since we do have a septic system that is strained to keep up, we don't want to have any kind of impact to the public health with the failure of the system. If we could attack these two items congruently, we'll give you our word that as these projects go on, both these things will happen at the same time. And if it's legally within your discretion to allow us to do it, we would appreciate consideration based on our intentions to make things right and our history in the town. And I just want to thank you for that opportunity to say that.
Then I'll just add that they have proposed solutions to all of the issues. So George,
Yeah.
will just take through them, kind of quickly. They can.
Sure. Again, this is literally just a copy and paste system, made this into a PDF, what I sent to Jen the other day. Again, my apologies for the incorrect letter of substantial compliance. Lorraine was moving faster than I was. As I mentioned in the previous email, the 2008 OOC and permit for work were not recorded in the chain of title by the previous owner, and the current owner was not aware of the open permits. Little side note, you probably know that what I do now with all my clients is I take control of that process. I take the documents, I record them at the registry of deeds to avoid this exact situation. And then today I met with Neil Levine and his business partner at the site to come up with a game plan below the corrective actions that the applicant is proposing to address your comments in the staff report. The applicant is seeking your approval of these proposed corrective actions. Comment 1, order of work and permit for work, specifically require annual catch basin cleaning, provide documentation that this has been done. The applicant will hire a catch basin cleaning company to vac out the catch basin per the operation and maintenance plan. The catch basin will be cleaned every 2 years. That was every 2 years is what was in the operation and maintenance plan that was proposed originally. I found that document. And then comment 2, permit for work specifically require the removal of grass clippings from the wetland. See site inspection or observations. Jen sent us all sorts of good photos. And honestly, I talked to Neil about this. We knew all of this was coming. We just wanted to kind of just get the request in and then come up with a solid game plan. The applicant will remove all the landscaping and debris from the wetland and buffer zone. Comment 3, the detention basin does not appear to have been maintained. Catch basin is half full of water at the time of inspection. O&M is in the approved file, but did not appear to be followed. Please provide documentations of annual cleaning. The detention basin is functioning properly. However, there are some down trees and growth within the basin. This area will be cleaned up to the satisfaction of the agent. The applicant seeks guidance as to how much vegetation should remove at all. I mean, there's trees and everything growing over it, but the actual inside of the basin is nice and clean. If you want those trees and everything cut back, I'm sure Mr. Levine, but basically we're just looking for some specific guidance on how far do we go with that? Do we completely remove all the trees and have the basin completely exposed, or do or do we just, so
We're
anyway,
just
that's
gonna
something.
throw in, it's not to my satisfaction, it's to be in compliance with the stormwater handbook.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
doesn't matter if I like it, you just need to be in compliance. Okay. Please go, please go on.
Okay. The comment for the piles of brush and concrete, cut wood and trash, still within and up against the wetland, all brush, compost, landscape debris. Concrete trash must be removed and no longer stockpiled in their wetland. And then I just reference, proposed corrective action, item number, 2. Comment 5, parking appears to have been expanded into gravel areas close to the wetland. This is not on the approved plan and would have stormwater requirements as redevelopment. It appears that some crushed stone may have been placed between the parking area and detention basin where the shed used to be by the previous owner. This area is not used as parking. The crushed stone does provide ground stabilization and may provide some stormwater control during heavy rain events. The applicant would like to leave this area alone and take no action at this time. Please advise. If the commission or Jen feels strongly otherwise, we're open to suggestion, but it's basically you have the edge of the parking lot and then you have a crushed stone area and then you have the detention basin. And there was a shed in there originally, which has been taken out. So again, that's subject to discussion, I guess. A broken pipe is discharging across the parking lot into the wetland. There is an erosion at the edge of the pavement. Approved plan does not illustrate a point source discharge. Repair of the pipe and stabilization is required. Then my response is the broken pipe is connected to the roof downspouts. The applicant is proposing to fix the broken end of the pipe and will place inch and a half to 3 inch crushed stone at the point discharge to prevent scouring of the side slope. Comment 7, dumpsters are not on the pad and closer to the wetland than approved. The 4-inch sidewalls do not appear to have been constructed per the OOC PFW. All dumpsters should be on a concrete pad with sidewalls as originally approved in the approved location as shown in the plans. So right now, the dumpsters are all kind of clustered together on the left-hand side. If you go to the parking lot from the street, there's a cardboard dumpster, a regular dumpster, and a grease dumpster. Just so the commission understands how things are laid out right now. The applicant is proposing to place the trash dumpster on the easterly dumpster pad, place the cardboard dumpster on the dumpster pad near the new catch basin, and will place the grease dumpster up by the rear of the building. The applicant is requesting that the 4-inch sidewall requirement is waived. The sidewalls will trap water, creating an insect breeding area. To be honest with you, it was 15 years ago when we did this. When we do dumpster pad designs today, when I do them now, we don't do any type of curbing around them. So I just, number one, it would be the way, it'd be kind of cumbersome and difficult to put in the curbing and to have them really serve any solid purpose. So my opinion is if we can put them on the 2 concrete dumpster pads that are there, because again, right now they're kind of off the edge of the parking lot, sitting on the ground. Put the dumpster pads basically where they're supposed to be, and then put the grease dumpster up right behind the building. Then everything will be on a solid surface, I think, as the original site plan had intended. But again, we would like to seek relief on that 4-inch sidewall. I don't really see any real benefit to that. Comment 8, the parking lot appears to need repaving. If this is done, stormwater management upgrades are required as a redevelopment. As of right now, they have no plans to do any paving. But obviously this puts us on notice that if any repaving is done, an application is required. And then just in closing, please let Mr. Levine and me know if these proposed corrective actions are acceptable. He is committed to rectifying these items to the satisfaction of the commission. Please let me know what your thoughts are, and thank you for your guidance in this matter. So that's it. So we definitely have some work to do.
Yeah.
But if we could just get a little bit of clarification on some of these things, on exactly what the expectations of the stormwater handbook, Jen and the commission might be.
If the side slopes and the bottom are supposed to be mowed, then, go in and correct that.
Yeah, but which I don't think is the case with this. It's mostly, so.
There wouldn't be trees growing in it, so.
Yeah, they're actually kind of growing over it. They're not growing in it. It's all thickly wooded and they're kind of growing over it. So honestly, if you can actually, walk around the trees and get into the stormwater basin, and the bottom of it is actually, there's no debris or anything on the bottom. But I think the intent would be to at least clear it enough so you can get into the basin without walking around it. So
you need to be able to get into it so you can
Yeah.
side slopes. So if
Yeah,
you
right now it's
get
like
there
kind of a
because it's
walk.
full.
it's like a wall of trees. So maybe if we kind of trimmed everything up so we can at least get into the basin, that would probably work. Like I said, I don't even know why we proposed. I think that was something that maybe the commission or maybe Stephanie at the time, Stephanie Danielson, recommended the 4-inch berms around the dumpster pads. I just don't think they're gonna accomplish anything.
I don't know why that's there, other than to prevent the dumpster from creeping beyond the pad where it's supposed to be. It's my only guess, but
Yeah, no, that would make sense. But at this point, again, I think it's more about if we can put the dumpsters where they're intended to be, and right now they're just kind of off the edge of the pavement, which obviously they shouldn't be there.
So George, how long do you think it'll take to get all of these items done, all the?
I mean, I don't know, that would probably be a question for Neil, but I'm thinking 30 days. You think you'd need no more than that, Neil?
I mean, we're committed to starting the work as quickly as we can get the contractors out to do it. So I'm hoping, if we get the approvals that we need, as soon as we get the approvals, the work starts. So we need it, and I want to do it, I'd like to do it, we can get started on whatever we get started. It would be nice if we could do it congruently, because the contractor who might be doing the sewer work would probably help us with the cleanup of the wetlands issue. So if we can get the sewer going and we can get the conservation stuff going, we can just knock it out and get it done as soon as the people can get out there. I think it's a question of the contractors. We've got a couple of people on that have given us estimates, and it's just, getting the permits from the DPW and getting the permits from the Board of Health and I'm not exactly sure all the approvals we need. That's your end, George, but as soon as we get the approvals, we're ready to go. It's teed up, the system's designed. And again, we want to, number one, get the sewer connected so there's no threat to public health. And number two, get this old order of conditions cleaned up so the property's in compliance and we're good business people and good neighbors and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, we're on it. I mean, I'm not I cook hamburgers for a living. I don't do engineering, and I don't really do good contracting with builders. So as soon as we get people out there, they're out there. The money's in the bank, the plans are drawn, and we're just waiting on approvals, and we'll get moving on it right away.
Yeah, so a lot of it might actually come down to contractor availability. So, I mean,
Right,
I think maybe we could report back to the commission in 6 weeks. We can keep Jen in the loop in the interim, or even 4 weeks. I mean, whatever makes sense.
I think 6 weeks makes sense. I think the course of action proposed for the order of conditions it makes a lot of sense to me. Any other members of the commission have comments or feel otherwise?
No, I'm in favor of trying to move everything forward as quickly as possible, get this site in compliance and get them hooked up to the sewer as quickly as their contract is available. Yeah, I think just administratively, is the question I sort of came back earlier about, you know, how do we handle not having two permits open and keeping DEPs happy about this? That's the only question that I have about it. I mean, we could sit there and say, well, do what we want and hope that DEP doesn't make too big of an issue out of it. But
Now,
I just don't want that to happen, that they have an opportunity to make an issue out of it.
Is the RDA, yeah, it is, never mind.
So it is a policy, which is basically, these are kind of a suggestion. Again,
Yeah, I'm okay with, personally, I'm okay with this. I'm just one commissioner, but and I just don't want this project to be held up because DEP puts a hold on approving the RDA.
I wouldn't anticipate DEP getting involved.
Okay, then fine. Then it's my issue then. My issue is resolved.
I'm okay with it.
Al, any comments?
I'm all set.
Any comments?
Getting it done as quickly as possible would be the right idea.
Agreed. Any comments from members of the public?
there's 75 abutters
Yeah, right.
because of the condos,
Yeah,
75 certified mailings.
must have been fun certified mail. Oh, can I get a motion?
Do you need some help?
I kind of do, yeah. I don't want to mess this one up where it's DEP and local.
That's fine. So I would say we would do a pre-construction meeting on this one, just because that'll help keep the project with the certificate of compliance requirements together. But for the Wetland Protection Act determination, it's a +5 that it's subject to the bylaw, and a -3, it's in the buffer zone only. And under the local bylaw, the determination is the -3 in the buffer zone only.
So moved.
Roll call vote.
I need a second.
Up second.
Second.
All right, now roll call vote.
Benson, aye?
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Paul Fells, aye.
Okay, and then your certificate of compliance, you're requesting a continuance to June 5th meeting?
Sure.
Roughly 6 weeks.
Motion to continue the request for certificate of compliance for 520 Foundry Street to the June 6th meeting.
Second.
June 5th.
June
Um,
5th, right?
June 5th.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote.
Benson, aye?
Carol, I.
Crossman, I.
Paul Fells, aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your help.
Thank you for your consideration. We appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, take care. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, so I'll handle the next hearing. The next hearing is a continued hearing for 20 Leisure Lane. As a reminder, this was a notice of intent to construct a garage. It was continued from our previous meeting. I think we have Eric Diaz representing the applicant.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening.
Can you see me? For some reason, I can only see me.
No, we can't see you.
Let me try something here. Here we go. How's that?
Perfect.
All right, there we go. Thank you very much. I can begin whenever you're ready, Mr. Chairman.
We are waiting.
Okay. Before I do begin, I just want to make sure of one thing. The last time we were here, I believe, member Speedia was here and Mr. Crossman was not. Do we have a 4-member voting commission tonight?
Yeah,
We
Nathan submitted the Mullins form.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure. All right. So the last time that we were here, we talked about 20 Leisure Lane. I'm going to paraphrase and just make life simple and say this really boiled down to 2 primary things. One was the location of the proposed garage within the 50-foot buffer zone. and the other was the benefit. We've been working quite a bit. With me tonight off camera is my client, the applicant, Mr. Giraldi. He and I have been working together quite a bit to see what we can do to appease the concerns of the commission and things like that. And we submitted a revised set of plans and an update letter to the commission last Wednesday. Now, that's a little bit further with that, with improvements, and I submitted revised plan and an update to the commission today. I don't expect anybody to have reached this point, but the are pretty minor, and I can certainly walk us through. So that's the plan I would tonight, because some significant improvements to it.
So Eric, your audio and video are a little choppy.
No. I'm sorry. Can you hear me better now?
I think we can. You need to have whoever's playing Fortnite on your network shut it down.
Yeah, seriously. I thought I was the first person here, but maybe somebody's hacking me somewhere. Let me bring up my screen. I'm going to share screen. You've seen that. That is your...
Just waiting for it to come up here.
Okay, yeah.
We're not seeing anything yet, but
Oh, there we go.
There it is.
right when I say it.
You got the magic touch, I suppose. Okay, so this goes along with the letter that I submitted today. So I'm going to walk through this letter and the plan at the same time and show you guys kind of what we've done here. First and foremost, we had this issue with a encroachment into the abutting property at the Wilbur's property that is also natural heritage habitat. We talked about ways that we could rectify that. We talked about let's get the fireplace out of that area that's over the property line, and we had proposed conservation markers in the location. The commission, I don't think, was satisfied with the conservation markers, so we beefed it up and we're proposing to put a split rail fence on right now with conservation markers on the fence. That's going to prevent any future encroachment into that area. And since it's, like we talked about last time, since this is an area that we don't own and have control over, we can't really do a restoration or a mitigation planting on it, but we can certainly leave it alone and let it repopulate naturally, which we feel is a betterment. Now that's a 4,400 square foot area, as opposed to the size of the garage that we're proposing is a 1,344 square foot area. So roughly that comes out to close to 3 times, a little better than 3 times the area that we're proposing. Ms. Carlino, I'm just breezing through my letter here. Ms. Carlino had made a note about there being a mulch pile and concrete in the wetland and buffer area. We agreed to take those out. Now, more importantly than all of that stuff, I'm going to zoom in on the building. The building in the previous form was 44 feet long and was situated in the buffer more. There was 93 square feet of the buffer of the building in the 50-foot no disturb buffer. It was suggested to us that we try to shift this building forward at least 6 feet. So what we've done is we've shaved 2 feet off the back of the building and we brought the building 4 feet forward, okay? That leaves 16 square feet of the building in the 50 no-touch buffer. That comes to about 1% of the building, which means we move 99% of this building out of the buffer zone, out of the no-touch buffer. So when we talk about avoidance and we talk about minimization, that is our goal in this case. Now, the reason we have not moved it forward any further is right here. You see this 10.5 foot dimension. That is to the existing leach galleys on the site. For a Title V requirement, we not get within 10 feet of those leaching galleys with a slab foundation. So we went to 10.5 to give ourselves a few inches of wiggle room there, okay? The other thing too is the 42-foot dimension is not an arbitrary dimension that we've just picked. This building is slated to have certain equipment to go in it. It's going to house the applicant's truck in machinery and certain equipment. So that 42 feet is really the minimum that he can go to get the effective utility that he needs out of this building, okay? We have also clarified that the crushed stone patio is in fact pervious. We had some discussion about that at the last meeting. But really, the tail of the tape for this whole thing comes down to the table that's in the letter. I'd like to highlight that briefly. So this table shows improvements that we've made the prior, okay? We have 242 additional landscape area within the buffer zone, so that's less impervious. We have 16 square feet of impervious, so we have 77 square feet less roof in the buffer zone, okay? We have, in the 50 to 100, we have 637 square feet more landscaping than what was proposed before. That's lawn and crushed stone area. Big number is the pavement. We have almost 3 feet less pavement than what is in the existing condition on the site now. So we're reducing pavement from what exists today, which can be said that that is a betterment in and of itself in the buffer zone, okay? And we've only have, as a trade-off for all of that, we're only proposing 23 square feet more rooftop in the outer 50 to 100-foot buffer. Now, what's important to note here, I know we talked about before, I'm going to go back to the plan for a second. We have, in addition to all of that, we have completely wiped out the need for any resource area alteration to do with the riverfront area. That's gone now. Okay? We're also proposing a rooftop infiltration system. That's going to be a betterment in that it's going to take the clean rooftop runoff from the rooftop. It's going to get it into the ground directly where there is otherwise not a mechanism on site that does that. We're relying completely on surface infiltration to get water to the ground. This is going to ensure that it gets injected directly into the ground. Okay, so all those are better. In addition to all of that, the last thing in our letter, it was suggested to us staff that there may be some funds that could be contributed to do some work in the town. And what was identified is that there is a need to refurbish, repair, or replace some of the conservation area signage. And there may be a need to provide material to improve the community gardens. So my client is proposing to make a donation of funds to either of those things or both of those things, however the commission chooses to split it up. Certainly at your discretion, is part of an additional public benefit to help fund those items. And he's proposing a donation in the amount of $2,500. So I think it's important to note that the credo, right, is avoid, minimize, and mitigate. So we've avoided by getting all disturbances first, like we talked about, out of the 100-foot riverfront area in the back of the house where we originally wanted this. We've gone, that put us in the 50-foot no disturb. We've minimized by shrinking the building in far out of there is Title V. That's what allows us to do so. We've reduced the amount of impervious surface on the site with regard to pavement. We're allowing the remainder of the disturbed area to repopulate. We're putting up a fence to make sure we're not going into that area again. We're going to put up the conservation markers, a donation for off-site betterments on top of all of that. So that is part of our mitigation strategy. And I think I'm hopeful that the commission will agree that we've made significant improvement and hopefully hit the mark on this one. Mr. Chairman, I'm glad to turn it over to you, and I'll go your direction.
Thank you. Jennifer, any update for us?
The only other thing, in addition to what Eric has already said, was they revised the waiver requests.
Which we did.
Any comments from the commission? I'd like to know, I mean, last time we gave the applicant, Mr. Diaz, direction to move the building out of the no disturb zone. I think that he is now 1.4 feet in the no disturb zone, and provided an explanation as to why. I certainly think he's probably done as good an explanation as he possibly can on this particular thing. I just wanted to sort of take the temperature of the commission to see if this was an acceptable location for this particular thing. There was some discussion previously that it couldn't move out for far enough because it would block the house or block some other thing, and I think we discounted that. But I think that there's probably a proper explanation on the table here to have it inside the no disturb zone by 1.4 feet. So I don't know. Anybody else?
I would agree with you on that, Rory. I think the septic setback makes sense here.
It seems acceptable to me.
The only thing I'm concerned about, I thought last time that the applicant agreed to do away with the patio alongside of the building, which is in the no disturb zone. And I was sort of surprised to see that back tonight.
So
It's definitely
my-
construction in an area that's not supposed to have construction.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely remember I was the one who raised the issue about alteration. I mean, that was my comment last time. I think that I think if we allow the alteration, the question is it? And I'm not saying your issue about it's alteration because of the construction is considered here, but let's say if we get beyond that, is having the gravel stone patio area any worse or less than lawn? And so I think that the applicant's presenting that it is equivalent of lawn given its impervious nature of the material. So if we can say we're okay with the construction of the patio, I mean, it seems to be about, I don't know, 12 feet by 35 feet, somewhere around there. So about 600 square feet of it. Maybe not even, probably about 450 square feet. So I'm just, I take your point for sure, Al. And so it seems like we're okay with the position of the building. Now the question is the patio sufficiently sufficiently insignificant to allow or not? So that's really the question. So is there any? Let's just talk that through and let's get some consensus on that before I move on to one more topic here.
Seems to serve the same function as, like you said, grass. It's not, it's not impervious, so I am fine with it.
I have no issue with the stone patio.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with it too. I mean, I'm one of those. This is one of those 55-45 things. So I'm not entirely okay with it, but I think I'm enough okay with it. If that makes sense.
Eric, is there a depth
To the aggregate?
for the patio?
We haven't proposed anything. I can add a detail, but I would imagine probably about a 6-inch depth on something like that.
Okay, a detail would be helpful.
We can add a detail, sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we get to the one issue about the waiver, right? So I mean, I think that we've probably met the two other criteria, which is no practicable alternative, right? I mean, I think that they've probably met that criteria. They've shown us a different plan that was more disturbing than this one. The only other location on the property it could be would be closer to wetlands or in your inner riparian zone. So I think that that's probably okay. I think we're probably okay with no cumulative negative effect on the wetland resources. This is a relatively stable, flat area of property, so I think we're probably okay there. The third part is the public benefit, the one we always struggle with these single-family home projects, right? I mean, we talk about this 5 times a year, and I know that there was a suggestion of some sort of donation that would cover some other projects. I'm not quite sure we want to continue or encourage that practice. We may have done it a few years ago in one project that I'm aware of, but that was a little bit different circumstances than this. So I'm just wondering what, I mean, I think, first of all, selfishly, from a commission standpoint, I have no issue with someone trying to help us get some of our projects done. It's the optics of it, right? It's somebody who can write a check big enough to make us approve their project. That's really the question that's being asked here, if we're okay with that. And I think there's probably some optics issue to that depending on what the applicant or developer can afford, that we might approve the project. And I don't believe, but Mr. Diaz and Mr. Giraldi, by no means do I believe that that's what's happening here. Okay, it's simply an optics thing. Okay, and so I don't believe that's the intention here. I believe that the applicant was genuine in his offer to assist us. I just concerned about the optics. Anybody else have any comments about that?
I'd share that sentiment. I think it's a good policy to move away from that. I think that there are circumstances where it may make sense. And I think public benefit on this project, I'm okay with a net reduction in asphalt and managing the roof runoff. I mean, I do think it's something that we've struggled with consistently on single family projects, and that's part of this.
Yeah, I saw Al nodding his head. Al, you want to give us some feedback?
I think I'm getting comfortable with the project. I'd be prepared to move ahead with it without any payment or other actions that the commission may be interested elsewhere.
Nate?
I have no comment at this time.
Thank you. So before I go to public comment again, I just want to, so Jennifer, can you just give us some guidance here that are we prepared to move forward? We would need a revised waiver letter if we wanted to move forward with using the decreased pavement and stormwater treatment as public benefit on this one.
I'm sure they would get that letter to you and then the detail of the patio on the plan.
Right, that's what I was just about to say, the changes to the plan. So and I just want to make sure you were comfortable with that.
Yes.
So before I go to public comment, I just want to make sure that if there is public comment on this particular project, that we stay focused in on the actual bylaw resource areas as opposed to a general positive impact of the project. So any public comment for 20 Leisure Lane? Mr. Wilbur, I'll recognize Mr. Wilbur, see if we can. Should be here in a second. So Mr. Wilbur, you can unmute yourself and turn on your video, hopefully.
There we go. Okay.
Mr. Wilbur, can you just identify yourself for the record? Is there a chance you could turn on your video too?
This is a new computer. It's not,
Okay. So just identify yourself for the record and we'll take your comments.
Edward Wilbur. The only thing.
Your address, Mr. Wilbur?
351 Purchase Street.
Thank you.
The revised plans, the only thing they should do is remove the woodshed that he has on my property and the fire pit.
I think you agreed to do that tonight, yes.
Not the woodshed, just the fire pit.
I would say that he's moving both the woodshed and the fire pit. He's not being allowed to leave anything on it.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate you asking for the clarification. So.
Yes. The rail fence is a good deal. And that's about it.
Appreciate it, Mr. Wilbur. I appreciate you hanging in and coming back to us again tonight. So, thank you.
Take care.
Okay, so I think that anything else from you or the applicant, Mr. Dias?
No, I think we're satisfied. I just, want to thank you guys all and staff for hanging in there with us and helping us get to this point.
Yeah, and I do, this is one of those cases where it looks at the onset that the commission is at odds with the applicant. And I really never, you know me, that's never my intention. And so it's always our intention to make the project as good as we possibly can and in compliance with the regulations. So I hope that everyone whoever comes before us feels like they were treated fairly. And I know after the first hearing, sometimes they don't feel that way. It's usually after the second or third one we get around to the point where we actually come to some agreement that is a compromise for all. So I do appreciate it. I do believe this project did get within the regulations and became an approvable project tonight. So I do appreciate you sticking with us, and hopefully the experience wasn't too traumatic. So.
Not at all, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm going to make a motion to issue a permit for work order conditions, noting that the applicant. Jennifer.
I just closed the public hearing first.
Whew. Yeah. Motion to close 20. Eric, I assume you want me to close.
Yes, sir.
Make a motion to close 20 Leisure Lane.
Carol second.
Carol second. To close, roll call.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Fell's aye. Any further discussion?
Just that I didn't have a draft for you. So you could give it in sense of the boilerplate conditions and then just talk about if you need anything else before that.
So make a motion to issue a permit for work order conditions for 20 Leisure Lane, noting that the applicant needs to submit updated plans to include details on the patio construction. He needs to submit a new waiver letter noting the stormwater treatment and decrease in pavement surface is a public benefit. Also noting split rail fence for along the east side of the property with appropriate wetland notifications on the fence.
Carol second.
Caulfield's Carol second, roll call.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Caulfield's aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you all very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay. See where we are here. So we did 520 Foundry. Oh, we have, sorry, before we move on here. So 91 Union Street, which had continued from a couple months ago to this particular meeting, has requested another continuance to May 22nd. So I need a motion to continue 91 Union to May 22nd.
Carol second. Was that a motion, Rory?
It was not.
All right, well.
I'd like to make a motion to continue.
Carol second.
Crossman, Carol second. Roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Caulfield's aye. Just as a point of information, when I make that statement, one of you can simply say "so moved," and that's a motion. Okay, so if I say I need a motion to do this, and you say "so moved," that's a motion. So we'll get you into the Robert's Rules of Order here at some point. So.
At some point.
You're all doing great.
You're doing great. Yes.
Everybody's doing great.
Okay. Well, we come to the enforcement part of the meeting.
There's not much to add except for the anticipated update at 33 Gilmore. We have not heard anything from them, and so it's probably time to issue an enforcement order.
I think we all agreed that that was going to be a course of action, so I make a motion to issue an enforcement order for 33 Gilmore.
Carol, second.
Caulfield's Benson, second. Roll call.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Caulfield's aye.
So I just have a question on that. Would you like her to appear at the next meeting, or do you just want to have something done by a certain date?
So my suggestion would be to have something done by 4 weeks from now, or appear at the meeting. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I would take either also.
Do we want to give, that they have to provide reasons why nothing has been done if they just show up and do nothing? I don't think that's I wonder about that course of action.
I think that we have a whole array of actions we can take to motivate this homeowner if they come and say they have not done anything in 4 weeks, plus the 4 months they've taken to get here. So, and that includes fines up to $300 a day. So,
Do you want to make give them an indication when it's going to start? Is it going to start today or a month from now?
So when you issue the enforcement order, it has a date on it.
Okay.
And it can be retroactive if you choose. The enforcement order is, if you haven't looked at one before, it's a little scary to read. So it should get attention quickly. I don't think we need to add anything else at this point.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes, I agree. Acceptance of meeting minutes. Probably the one thing I don't have. Did anybody read the meeting minutes? Because I did not.
Yeah, I did. I had one question. It looks like we now report to the Planning and Economics Department, and I don't know whether that's appropriate or not. I don't think so.
I'm not following you out. Is there
At the title, it says, instead of the commission, the title says, at the top of the title, it says Planning and Economics Department, and then the commission under that. It looks
So
like.
we are within that.
Excuse me?
That is actually how our structure is. The Conservation Commission, or I am part of the planning department.
So do we report to the planning department?
No,
Well,
I do.
Yeah.
I report to the town planner.
Okay.
They're
I
within
just,
the
from an
department.
optics point, I'm not too happy with the way that's laid out. Sorry to be obstructionistic.
No, I understand I'm just trying to actually, I don't see that on my version, but it could be just, I mean, I know that the Conservation Commission is part of the planning department. It always has been, so. I think it's a matter of fact as opposed to a matter of preference, unfortunately.
Okay.
So is there a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Say so moved.
I did it. I said it. So moved. I couldn't, I started dragging Ben's picture all over the screen, and my finger got stuck on the mouse. I was trying to move that thing as fast as I could. So moved.
Carol, second.
Crossman with Carol second. Roll call.
Benson, aye.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Caulfield's aye. That was the most reluctant Benson aye I've ever heard.
Preference.
I appreciate it, Al. I do. I certainly do. Thank you. Okay, so acceptance of conservation land in the deed associated with 20 South Street.
So it's roughly 5 acres of land, and so it's associated with the project Old Forge Commons, 20 lot residential subdivision portion of the property would come to the Conservation Commission. It's been working on for quite a while. That was before I got here, I think, that they were started talking about that.
Yeah, that's part of that cluster development bylaw.
Yes.
I thought that was super interesting.
Okay, so Jennifer, do you have some concerns about some abutters potentially?
There's definitely one abutter who's dumping a lot of stuff, leaves and grass clippings and things like that onto the property from the inspection we did last fall. So now that once the property is accepted by the Conservation Commission and approved by the Select Board and recorded, then we can send a letter to the abutters notifying them that it's conservation property, and that they cannot put their grass clippings and things on there. If needed, we can get small signs like our buffer zone markers and post those on the property line as well.
Okay. Any questions from the commission?
None.
Any public comment? Seeing none. So I make a motion to accept the land and authorize Jennifer to sign on our behalf. Or do I have to come in and sign?
You know, I'm gonna have to ask that. I think you can still do electronic signatures for land donations, but I want to double check that with the registry because I don't want it to come back to us.
Right. So why don't we just phrase the motion that if necessary, the chair or vice chair will come in and sign the deed if necessary. Okay.
Benson second.
Roll call vote.
Benson, I.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Caulfield's aye. Okay, chair updates, I will wait till next meeting. I don't think I have any updates.
I have an update from the CPC update, and we finally got agreement from all the parties. It looks like we're going to transfer back to usable reserve of $360-some thousand.
That's fantastic.
It was kind of worth the effort.
Yeah, kinda. That is not loose change in the couch.
No.
So I appreciate it, Al. Thank you. Jennifer?
I just put some information in your binder, the climate assessment that I think Al had asked for before. I had been to a number of workshops in the past couple of months and was taking screenshots of some important things. So I compiled all of that into one PDF for you guys as well to understand climate. So when we're talking about the regulatory revisions, we can refer to those slides. For Concom projects, we went over the list the last time. Do you want to assign a certain amount of money to a couple of the projects so I can get them started?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I suggested the signs. And I took Aiden Thomas's work, which was great, from Bristol Aggie. And there were 4 signs, I think, that were the worst, or 3 signs that were the worst, and then another 5 that were the next tier down. So I don't know if you want to start with the 3 that were the worst, or if you want to work with 8 or a certain amount of money and see how far we get. And I know Monty's Pond is something you want to add.
Yeah, yeah. So whichever ones we choose, I think we need to include Monty Pond in there, Monty's Pond, because that was the one where we got the donation from the neighbor that was doing the project. So I think we need to take care of that. But I think the only thing that's a little bit I'm being a little bit cautious about this. Normally I'd say, yeah, do 8 plus Monty's Pond and let's go. Is that we haven't priced this out in probably about 3 years. And so I'm a little bit concerned that the price we had 3 years ago may not hold. And so, I'd say that probably from my perspective, I think we should probably allocate somewhere not to exceed $20,000. So I think the signs are about, they were about 2,000 each before. It could be 3. So I'm just a little bit cautious to say, let's not to exceed 20,000 and have that be 5 or 6 signs, depending on what we can get, right? So
That
does that
makes a
make
lot of
sense?
sense. Yeah.
Make a motion to allocate up to, not to exceed $20,000 for the sign replacement project, noting that however many we do, we want to include Monty's Pond.
Second. Benson.
Yep, Caulfield's, Benson second. Roll call.
Benson, aye.
Carol, I. Crossman, I.
Caulfield's aye.
And we do have some money in the bylaw funds. Do you want to see if there's a wetland consultant that can help us work through those? Or do you just want to see how things go and then decide if you would like someone to work with us?
Does anybody have an opinion about this? So she's asking about, so when we start looking at regulatory revisions, do we want to have someone help us right from the beginning, or do we want to start to framework it and then bring somebody in? So both have their advantages and disadvantages to them. One is we could framework it and somebody could say, yeah, that's not going to work, right? and so, Ben?
I mean, I like the idea of getting a consultant involved from the jump. I think not in no small part because it will push us to do it on a timeline. And because I think they'll bring like real actionable items from the jump. That's my input. I think experts are valuable.
I'm just concerned about the price of the consultant.
Fair.
You know,
So a
Do we know
year
what
ago,
that
I
costs?
applied for a MVP grant to do this, and I think the quote was 40,000. But we didn't receive the grant. And so you do have that in the bylaw funds.
do we want to use it for that though?
That's the question to you. Or do you want to use a portion? Say,
how
hey,
much-
once we get to a certain point, or can you just get us in the right direction?
So
How much
can
is
I,
available in that fund, please?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, could you help me understand how much money is available in that fund? And what are alternative uses that we may be requested to provide?
I think you have 49,000 in that account.
it's 49,212.91. We have 37,658 in the ComCom WPA fund and ComCon Trust Fund, which is also includes we need to make sure we cover our dam costs and other costs.
There's a lot of those.
Yeah, no, I'm just sort of, and then, Tuss Farm has about 96,000 in it, which we already allocated 20,000.
I feel like I'm with Al now. Let's see what we can cut out before we bring in a pro.
Yeah, if it's gonna cost you 40,000, no matter what, I'd be willing to spend some hours on it at zero cost.
Same.
Fair enough.
Fine, that's why I asked the question.
Oh, good
Good
question.
question.
Well, good question by everyone involved here. Can I just, as a point of information too, and it always comes up in the annual town meeting that we all love to go to, by the way, I think it's May 15th this year, that there's a limit they put on for which commissions can spend certain amounts of money. And I think we're capped at 50,000. So out of our funds, out of certain funds, I don't know. I don't pay attention to it too much, to be
So
honest.
it'd be like 50 grand before it goes to the select board.
I don't know. That's the point of information that I'm sort of asking what it means. Like we vote on it every single year. I've only voted on it like 35 times.
So I had thought that was changed in the state law many years ago. You also have the ability to come up with a spending plan for the Wetland Protection Fund anyway. and list certain items that you anticipate you would need to spend some money on, and then if it's approved by the town manager, then you don't have to ask for permission or worry about if you're going above a certain amount, as long as it's within, you know, what you write down that you want to do. But that wouldn't include,
Yeah, it's only because I read the town warrant recently that made this even in my head, to be quite honest. I know, I read the town warrant, can you believe it? So,
Doing extra credit over there.
didn't know it was available, but I will look at it now.
Early release.
So just keep that in mind. It's not impacting this decision here tonight, but I'm just saying, let's keep that in mind. Oh my.
I mean, I had open space plan and interns on here, but we can talk about that another time because we still have executive session to go to.
Exactly, yes. Okay, so why don't we defer those for now, and then we'll get to the executive session. So any other, because I think what we're going to do here is we'll go to executive session, not come back to regular session. So I just wanted, is there anything else for us to discuss right here?
No.
Okay, so per general law, chapter 30A, section 21(6), we're make a motion to enter into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to potential purchase and value of land located at 57R Randall Street, map 25U parcel 58 and/or map 25U parcel 8, without the intention of returning to regular session. We'll be exiting now. So
Carol second.
So Caulfield's with Carol second, roll call vote.
Benson, aye.
Carol, I.
Crossman, aye.
Caulfield's aye. So we will leave this, and you have a separate link in your email of getting to the executive session.
Everybody knows where you're going, right?
Yeah, can we have like 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Yep, you got till 8:27 to get there.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.